So it's been about a week and a half since I've been to Cinegear Expo, and I have to say, from a smaller content creator who's been really kind of getting in the world of videography and cinematography, it was by far one of the coolest experiences to go to. And I recommend anybody who's looking to get into the industry or just looking to get into like the tech behind it, hands down, it's a must go if you're going to attend. Unfortunately, I was only able to go for one day out of the two. However, I really want to go to two now because I really want to attend some of the panels and stuff like that. But that's my stuff. Let's talk about the stuff I saw at Cinegear that made me excited. To better understand what Cinegear is, or Cinegear Expo is, it's pretty much an expo or convention for cinematographers from small industry like content creators to large industry like movie, TV productions. And it focuses on all the camera, the lenses, the tech, and the services behind the scenes of all of those different productions. So imagine like your favorite movie or your favorite TV show. The people who film that are the people who are attending these kinds of conventions. And you have brands from Surrey, you had Red, you had Canon, you had Sony. Like the list goes on of all the different vendors that are out there to be able to look at things. And that's where this conversation starts. What was I able to see at this convention, or this expo, if you will? The first booth that I saw was Small Rig, and I was really excited to see that they actually have a collaboration with Transformers coming out shortly. There wasn't any scheduled date yet, but you could just see this is the AD01 in a Bumblebee style color ray, and my God, I would have bought this and never bought my original if I knew I could get something like this. Like, I grew up watching Transformers, and I love the cartoons. I love when they did movies, and I just love the designs of all the gear. So that was one of my first stops when I got to Cinegear. But there was another booth that actually caught my eye right away, and that is the Fuji booth. Yes, Fujifilm was at this event, and this was prior to the XE5 announcement. And yes, I did try to ask them about it. Unfortunately, they couldn't tell me anything, but I kind of knew. There were a couple things that I got to see, and I'm bummed because I lost the video footage of me trying it, but I got my hands on the X-Half. Yes, this is the $850 like snapshot camera that people were saying it's overpriced, and it's like a toy, and there's like a whole dispute in the photography community right now. And I have to say, I do agree. I wish I had RAW in it, but at the same time, it's a small, like, it's a creative, fun camera. And I've talked about Fujifilm cameras before. When I talked about the Instax camera I have, and as well as the XM5, the Fuji X-Half is not meant for technical photographers. And when I say the technical photographers, I'm talking about the people who care and want to tinker and function with things such as going into RAW, trying to redevelop everything, that want to stay, that I don't know how to describe it. Part of me wants to say, is Fuji the Apple of camera companies? That is for another video. Anyway, actually wait till like later this week, because I gotta put out another video anyway. I gotta say, the Fuji booths were probably one of the most friendly booths. Everyone was willing to talk to you, and you could just hang out there, ask questions about the cameras, or let you work with every different camera. I talked about, my current video choices, and, even though I had a Nikon as my primary video camera that day, all were welcome. So I'm over here at Red's booth, and they have the Z-mount versions of the Red cameras. So I got a chance to take a look at them real quick, and I got a chance to play with Nikon's new 28 to 135 power zoom lens. Oh, that thing is a beast, and it's lightweight as hell. I actually was able to put it on my Z6 III. It allowed me to graciously to take it, play with it. I got some sample footage using, I was actually shooting in 4K on it. I didn't throw it up any higher, but like, I am completely impressed. I think that will be a dream lens. Maybe Nikon, call me Nikon, please. There are two other booths that really stood out to me, and it was Canon and Sony. The two competing brands in like outside of like lens companies. If Sony with their cinematic lines of cameras as well as Canon, I really didn't spend too much time with Canon's actual cinema bodies. What interested me though, because I'm a content creator first and I come for you guys, was looking at, they had the PowerShot V1 and the Canon R50V. Those were the two cameras that I really wanted to check out for video aspects. Unfortunately, I had to wait forever for a guy to finish touching the lens and touching the cameras. But when I finally got a chance to, I have to say, it's been a while since I shot with Canon. I don't remember any of the menu systems whatsoever, but the cameras were extremely light, and that did not go unnoticed. Like being able to hold in my hands, like it felt lighter than the XM5. And I was surprised, like for content creator cameras, like people who are going to vlog on a regular basis, those are most likely going to be the perfect vlogging camera based on just its weight alone, especially the V1. I wish I could get samples to show you, but there's plenty of people who reviewed it, and maybe if I get my hands on it like for a longer time, I could do a full review. But maybe I could rent it. Leave comments and I'll see if I can rent it, if you want me to do that, of course. And then lastly was the Sony FX2. Now, if you know with this channel, I originally considered leaving Nikon to go to Sony and get the FX30 or the FX3. And if it wasn't for the Z6 III, I probably would have jumped ship because I focus more on video than I do on photography. However, the Sony FX2 from a Nikon shooter, I think is special. And I know there are a lot of people who are hating on the FX2 because of the weird EVF viewfinder, because of the reusing of the A6700 internals. I get it. It happens everywhere. Nikon's done it with the Z5 too. Canon's done it with the R50V. Like, I get it. Let's not talk about Fuji because they just did it with the XE5. And again, that's a whole nother video. Subscribe to my channel for that because that's next. But I will say, like, being able to hold it, and it felt like a cinema camera. And for people who don't want to start in an APS-C lineup like the FX30, the FX2 is a perfect starting point for someone who wants to get into that cinema world of Sony without having to put out all the money of Sony. And yes, you can get the 6700, but that's more aimed towards photography than it is for videography. It just has video features. And you could buy something used like an A7C or something like that, but like, again, you want that one shot, that video cinema camera that's going to have auto cooling built in and have your central cage built in together, and you have an EVF. Like, if I were to start fresh, that'd be the camera I start with for video work. Hands down. If I was really serious about it and eventually going into like any kind of like professional like short film stuff, I get an FX2. Go ahead, sound off in the comments. Go ahead, I'm waiting. There's a bunch of stuff going on in Texas, and I realized time-wise I probably got to get dinner going. So leave it in the comments what you thought about some of the stuff that I talked about today. And have you been to Cinegear? Is there something I missed that you really enjoyed? Drop it in the comments below and let's talk about it. And like I said, in my next video, we're going to talk about the Fuji XE5 because I pre-ordered it. But let's talk about that later. I gotta go.